Okay, so this is another quick video kind of showing off what the sound of this guitar is. I am going to compare it to the guitar again. This time I'm using something a little more comparable so people don't like, it's so different. This is a Prog, so it's very similar. Swamp Ash, Maple. This one has a rich light fingerboard. Other than the fingerboard, they're very similar in construction. They have the same bridge. This one has Thornbuckers, Thornbucker Plus, normal. That one has an SSH Plus and an SSV. In the neck is an SSV. They sound pretty different from each other. That one's way higher output. This one is more of a classic PAF-ish output, or even a little lower. Anyway, someone asked me to do it with more of a sound I'd normally use. This is my attempt to do that. I just threw it together. It's using a Trainwreck Rocket, which is kind of like an AC30 sort of thing. Crunchy. I'll run through my settings at the end. Anyway, so this is the bridge pickup. I actually have never really had much of a problem with the bridge pickup on this, other than feeling uninspiring because of the low output. I'll do a little bit of bridge pickup, a little bit of neck pickup, and then I'll show you the cleaning up with the Trainwreck sound. Then I'll go to a high gain sound, and then I'll go back to a clean sound. I'll do some comparisons between the three. I'm not going to do any real description here. I'm just going to mess with it. Anyway. So that's just the bridge pickup. Now let's turn on an overdrive too, because this thing does work really well with overdrive. It's just a SD1 in front, so. Okay, I'm going to go through the other switch positions now. So, Thornbucker Plus. Outside coils. And then next single, which is the one I have the biggest complaint about on this guitar. Now I'm going to go compare a little bit to the SSV. Just for a second, then I'll go to a high gain sound. Oh, one other thing. So let me try this. I turn on an EQ just to give it a little bass boost. So yeah, you can definitely get the heft back using a bass boost, but I hate doing that. I prefer to. There's something about the voicing and the heft of the pickups that just don't get me. But I'll admit, comparing directly, I like it better than I did yesterday. I mean, that's the way things go. Here's more of a high gain. Pretty much all the bridge pickup, but then here's a little. I do like with the extreme volume drop. That's with the split, neck split. So. Coil. You use the inside coils to. Grab the other guitar, I'll show you. Obviously, much higher output pickups, so. Just thicker sounding. Now these are also significantly higher output, so I'll show that on the last demo. But yeah, so like this one is, it's much more. It doesn't have that glassiness that the Thornbuckers have. a little off. Weather's been a little screwy here. It's real humid down in my basement. This one doesn't clean up quite as well for those jangly tones, so. But, you know, if I use a model, you can just do that with the settings. But yeah, so for chunky rhythms and stuff. Go back to this one for a second. Same. I'll just play the same riff. I'm not thinking very well about this. It's the end of a work idea. It just sounds thinner. It sounds more like a PAF. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a little hard to show on a video. I just feel like it could use a little more punch, but like it may just be me being like, every guitar should be the same. But I hate doing that because, you know, why have so many guitars then? Anyway, one last thing. Here's more of like a high watt sort of sound. Cleanish with some delay. I think because the next split is very much the sound that I would use here. Here's the next. You get the idea. And now I want to compare that to the higher outputs. So it's a little muddy on the bridge pickup. I could dial that out. It's just a matter of, it's hard. This is the neck pickup. One last. This one. So anyway, here's my thoughts. I still would prefer something with a little more output, a little more heft on the blue guitar. But after doing a little bit more messing about with it, and a little more of a concerted comparison with the Prog, they're both good do-all-anything guitars. If I was going to do something heavier, I'd use the Prog. If I was going to do something more classic rocky, I'd probably use the Sälen. But they're both good do-anything guitars. That's kind of what they're both designed to do. And it kind of leaves me at a, do I want them to be the same or similar, or do I want them to be completely different? I don't know. I'm maybe driving myself a little nuts here. All I know is when I play the blue one, I'm not as happy as when I play the green one most of the time with a group. Here in this setting, I feel like the blue one might sound a little better, honestly. But in a group setting, the green one, the extra compression and the more, it just feels more touch sensitive to me. Anyway, let's run through my settings real quick, just to give you an idea of what I was using. Here we go. So I was using 3 scenes that I just set up real quick. All of them were a little muddier than I like, I think. I just kind of threw them together real quick. I only had like, how long is this video? 20 minutes? So I only spent about 10 minutes on it, and I've got about 10 minutes before I need to go get ready to go to see Wilco tonight. Looking forward to that. Anyway, so let's start with the high walk, because that's where I was. So this is a mild compressor, optical compressor that I had running into it. That's just a little bit of low compression. The drive on this model, I'm trying to turn this, oh, whatever, it's muted anyway. The drive was a tube driver 4-knob. This is the settings I often use. Sometimes I drop the treble. Usually I keep them pretty low, though. This is kind of like the Eric Johnson sort of settings. And the level's pretty high going into a high watt brilliant channel. That's kind of my settings. Into a high watt cab, into a multi-delay using the Allen Holdsworth setting, into a reverb, I believe just the Hall. And let's go down to the high gain setting was a, see, it's all flat. The drive that I clicked it on was a super overdrive. And you can see my settings, pretty normal. I have the drive a little higher than some people might, but I kind of like that, adding that grit with the super overdrive. I use an SD1 a lot on non-virtual, non-modelers, so it's my favorite tube screamer is actually the Boss SD1. Just a preference. I like it. It's a little honkier, which is weird because I don't like honky pickups, but I like honky overdrives in a band context because they cut through. And I feel like the SD1 is just a little more sparkly, a little less smooth, and it's subtle. Like you can't really tell. Like you're splitting hairs. And then the amp was the Hot Kitty, which is the Bad Cat Hot Cat, which is an amp I actually own and use. Both gains are around 7. This equates to gain and level on the actual amp. High cut was pretty high. Master volume's almost all the way up. Cut some bass, add a little treble, and then bring up the high cut. That's basically how you dial in the real amp. There's also under this ideal cab, you see this high treble reduced by like 8 dB. That's to the edge control. That's the equivalent of the edge control. So it cuts highs going into the preamp, and you kind of got to use that on this model to get close to what how the real amp responds. But it's not that high of a gain. It's like a semi-high gain sound. And then the last one was the Trainwreck Rocket, which I believe the drive I was using on that one was, just a Klon. I kicked it on a few times. I actually have the treble pretty high on that Klon. But yeah, gain level pretty much, I dialed it to ear. And that's just a Trainwreck Rocket. Bass is there, 7 from the treble, high cut. That's about it really. And all of them use the same medium hall reverb. Oh, right, and the EQ. I did demo the EQ a little bit. This is the EQ I've got that I like to use to fatten up the blue one sometimes, especially in clean sounds, but I didn't really demo it very much. It's a pretty big shelf. It's like 7.8, like that may be a little bigger than that needs to be. On the high shelf, a tiny bit of a boost in the low mids, nothing on the high mids, and then like 3 dB cut in above 4K, which kind of takes off some of the glass on a shelf. I could do that as a low pass as well, and it would probably work. Or maybe a 6 dB per octave low pass. Can you even do a low pass? No, you can't even do a low pass. But if I did a 6 dB per octave low pass at about 3,500 ish, maybe no, more like 2,800, it would probably do a similar thing. And that's it as far as the settings goes. I hope that elucidates things. After this, messing with this again, I don't know what to do. All I know is that I'm not 100% happy with the Blue Sälen, but it is a great guitar. It has a great sound, and it's somewhat unique in my stable. It sounds like a double humbucker telly, and that's cool. I play a telly a lot. I've got 2 Sälen with the single coils, and I also have a really great thin line telly that I've had for years that just sounds amazing. And I have another telly loaded with EMGs, which I'm a big fan of for studio work, because it's like a 60s style telly. All my other tellies have 50s style pickups in them. If you have any thoughts, just leave a comment. Otherwise, I think this has gone on long enough. Thanks for listening.